At Fide.email, we believe in protecting your privacy and supporting your faith. Fide.email offers peace of mind with features like end-to-end encryption and secure communications tools. Your data stays private and your values remain intact. Choose an email provider that understands what matters to you. Make the switch to Fide.email today. There is an overt politicization of the church, and it's not limited to the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops and their unholy relationship with the U.S. government. Around the Western world, and yes, in the Eastern rites as well, and among the Eastern Orthodox, among all the major apostolic faiths, you have a common denominator, and that is the church in bed with the state, in bed with Caesar, getting to the point where they are now trying to manipulate outcomes of political processes. European elections are coming, and in Germany, the coming Bundestag elections are very, very high profile. There's a political party rising in parts of that country that most think would have had no chance of ever winning, except that the German leadership is so tone deaf in ignoring the demands of their people on the issue of migration and other issues and speech and other things. And they become so tyrannical in trying to control their population that they have forced a lot of Germans into rethinking their political options. Now, this party is called the Alternative for Germany. They've been dubbed far right, but in reality, their policy positions are pretty moderate by American standards. By European standards, American moderates are pretty fringe on the right, which has all of the Europeans freaked out. The German bishops have for years spoken about how this is a horrible sign for Germany. So, for those thinking this politicization that we're seeing, that's going to loom over the coming conclave, that's unfortunately not the case. It's not merely an American thing at all. So we go to katholisch.de with the headline, Bishop Batzing concerned about high support for the alternative for Deutschland. This is Bishop Batzing. He is often photographed dressed like a Protestant minister instead of a Catholic bishop. He's kind of the head of the German bishops, and he is often indistinguishable from his Lutheran countrymen in the way he dresses. He's also one of the giant proponents for synodality. When all the horrible things that were coming out of Germany during the big synods about what the German bishops were going to do and how they were threatening to go it alone, the only correction they got from Rome was, don't do this alone, go with the rest of the church. Wait for the Universal Synod, which kind of made it sound like they were going to like what was going to happen. And the German bishops very much liked what was going to happen because they understood that the changes in procedure for determining doctrine and dogma and the rest would help them facilitate the changes they wanted to make in Germany. So they were happy to go along with it. That same bishop who wants to reject the church's teaching on holy matrimony, on who can be ordained, and all the rest of it, is very worried that there is a mildly conservative party in Germany about to attain real power. They're apparently coming in second among all parties, which means they're likely to be the ones who form a coalition, if they could find a coalition partner. And that's the key to how parliamentary systems work. So I hate parliamentary systems. But here are the details. Quote, the chairman of the German Bishops' Conference, Bishop Georg Batzing, has once again distanced himself from the AfD and urged the union to maintain the firewall. I am concerned about the great support for the AfD, said the Limburg bishop in an interview with the Italian daily newspaper Avenir. Batzing reiterated his statement that the AfD is not electable for Christians. Anyone who abuses the Christian view of humanity for their own propaganda, who supports authoritarian regimes and adopts their supposed solutions to challenging problems, who stirs up the dislike of people because of their flesh and nationalism, is not only acting questionably from the perspective of the Christian view of God and humanity, but can hardly be described as democratic, the bishop stressed. The Christian churches in Germany therefore called for the election of parties and politicians, quote, who are committed to a Germany based on the rule of law, freedom, cosmopolitanism, solidarity, and the preservation of creation, end quote. Of all those values they just listed, solidarity is the only one that's actually a Christian value. Preservation of creation, you can also argue, is, depending on what you mean by that, but cosmopolitanism? And what do you mean by freedom? I mean, that, again, it's a buzzword. It means a lot of different things to a lot of people. And the rule of law, again, I don't know what that means when we're talking about a country that, as the American vice president dared to point out to their faces in Munich recently, has a track record of coming down on people for speaking mean things on social media. But it's not only the German bishops reporting on this, by the way. The bishops of France have all been worked into a lather about this too. So you get this headline from La Croix International, which is the French bishops' news outlet. Christian churches call to defend democracy ahead of Germany's elections. They are, and there's Botzing again in his very much post-conciliar 21st century Novus Ordo attire. I mean, that's something right there. It's odd to see prelates have democracy be the first thing that they are concerned about and not souls. These are the bishops of Germany and the bishops of France. Combine this with how the American bishops are worked up in a lather over Trump's various programs. In a conclave, a lot of talk about a conclave. All of this is going to loom large over the conclave process. All of this will be influential in the conclave process, and we'll see how it plays out. Here's the article. Defend Our Democracy. This is the title of the joint appeal launched February 11th by the leaders of the main Christian churches in Germany, just days before the country's legislative elections on February 23rd. Our democracy is not negotiable, declared the signatories. Bishop Georg Botzing of Limburg, president of the German Bishops' Conference, Kirsten Fairs, Lutheran bishop and president of the Protestant Church in Germany, and Radu Konstantin Miron, Greek Orthodox priest and president of the Association of Christian Churches in Germany. For those of you thinking about leaving the Catholic Church for Orthodoxy because you think you're going to find something more rational, Greek Orthodox are chiming in on the side of essentially a hard-line left-wing government in Germany. If our society becomes so polarized that people are irreconcilably opposed to one another, extremist forces will have an easy task, they wrote at the beginning of the lengthy declaration. Throughout the statement, the Christian leaders referred, without ever naming it, to the far-right AfD party, which in recent weeks has made historic gains. The party is polling at 20% just days before the vote. We affirm that extremism, especially ethnic nationalism, are incompatible with Christianity, they asserted. Believing that current political debates are calling this resilient democracy into question, they issue this appeal to all voters, particularly those voting for the first time. Vote for the parties that support our democracy, end quote. In light of this is also J.D. Vance's speech at the Munich conference, where he got a lot of backlash. The speeches that came afterwards were all, "This is unacceptable. How dare you say we've surrendered our freedoms? You're attacking our democracy." Sounds familiar, doesn't it? It's almost like they all were writing from the same playbook. But ladies and gentlemen, those stories are going to play at the next conclave. This is why Eric Sammons of Crisis Magazine said this on X, reminding everybody that you should be praying for the next pope, whoever that is. You should be praying for him, that God gives us a pope who will do his will. That's what we should be doing, in addition to everything else related to all that we should be doing right now. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments, please. Like and subscribe if you haven't. It certainly helps us sharing this on social media. That helps enormously too. If you've ever thought about supporting the work we do around here at Return to Tradition, it is greatly appreciated. There are options in the description box below. We're going to hit that join button. It does help keep our daily messages in, daily live streams coming on a regular basis. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.